If it weren't for the railroad, the town of Delmar might not be on the map. Delmar, Delaware was founded in 1859 with the extension of the Delaware Railroad to the southern boundary of the first state.
Now, eventually, the railroad was extended through Maryland and Virginia to Cape Charles, making the peninsula an important link between north and south. Now, the railroad still runs north and south through Delmar, but it's not the booming transportation industry it was back then. But Delmar hasn't forgotten its importance to the creation of the town. That's the subject of today's Marker Monday. Delmar is a town built by the railroad.
There was 5 sets of tracks right here.
Alan Whitley knows his father worked for the railroad.
He was on the railroad. He worked 40 years. He worked in the freight station.
And as president of the Delmar Historical and Arts Society, he's working to keep the history of the railroad in Delmar front and center here on Pennsylvania Avenue. That's where you'll find the Highball signal. It was first used on the Newcastle and Frenchtown Railroad in Delaware in 1832. The Highball signal preceded electronic signals that communicate track hazards ahead.
The ball was at the top of the 30-foot mast. That meant that the track was clear and they could travel at speed. If it was at half the mast, it meant they needed to stop at the next station or whatever for passengers or freight.
If the ball was raised and black, that meant there was something ahead and the train needed to stop. The Highball signal in Delmar is rare.
There's very few left in the country. Most of them that they had that were with this one were destroyed when they stopped using them.
The Highball signal was moved to Delmar for display during the town's centennial in 1959. A historical marker notes its place in history. Not far from the Highball signal is a guard shack.
That guard shack was actually just north of here, about a half a mile on Racetrack Road, railroad crossing.
Before electronic crossing gates and signals, a person was stationed at the tracks.
When a train was coming, they physically got out and put cross guards down across the road, and where everything's automated now, they physically did all that work.
But perhaps the most visible railroad relic here is the caboose, a 1929 cabin car purchased from the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. It was placed here in 1976 and was used as a museum.
We just had railroad artifacts from the town. They would bring kids from the school, they'd have field trips and bring them and try and broaden their horizons.
Whitley says they eventually had to remove the artifacts and lock the caboose for safety reasons. But people seem to jump at the chance to see inside.
Whenever the caboose is open, people are stopping by, want to see. And I guess it's the representation of what they've heard over the years and don't know any more about that's long gone from this area.
But not forgotten. The Delmar Historical and Arts Society is working to open a new museum.
We're actually an old doctor's office about half a block away. We hope to get into that in the next few years. The family saved all the doctor's equipment, so we can actually go back with that and restore that.
Keeping the town of Delmar on the right track to preserving memories for generations to come. Now, one of the worst train accidents in Delaware history actually happened in Delmar on a very, very foggy night in 1909. 7 people were killed when a train heading south collided with a locomotive sitting on the track. So that is why it's such a good thing that we have the electronic lighted signals to tell them.
And stop, look, and listen.
Yep, absolutely. Well,